I gave people all the stuff they really needed. Social Security checks, utility bills, TV guide.
I want a TV guidance counselor. TV guidance counselor. Staying up to watch all night, and everything's gonna be alright with my TV guidance counselor.
Hello, welcome. It's 2025, everybody. Welcome to TV Guidance Counselor. I'm Ken Reed, as always, your TV Guidance Counselor. A brand new year, for better or worse, probably worse, but you know why. But I have a lot of great guests lined up, so this will be year 12 of the show. As we barrel into year 12, somehow still not missing a week. I don't understand how that has happened, but I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to just dive in, focus on doing what I can do and doing this show, and hopefully you'll be here along for the ride with me. If you would like to email me, let me know what's on your mind, what your plans are for the year. You can do so at tvguidancecounselor@gmail.com, ken@icanread.com, or kenreadtvgc@gmail.com, or on all the social media at Kenneth W. Reed, or become a patron if you have a buck or two a month you want to share. You can go to patreon.com/tvguidancecounselor. If you had $5 a month or more, you would get this week's issue of not TV Guide, but the Radio Times. Because my guest, and this is the best way I could think of to start 2025, is from the UK. And this guy's great. He's very funny and just a smart guy, fellow horror fan. He is Dan Does. He has a YouTube channel, Dan_Does. I put links in the show description here. He makes kind of monsters and does kit bashing, and it's really fun. But even if you're not like a person who makes models, it's super fun to watch. He makes the episodes really funny and entertaining, and he's just a super funny guy. He's a twin, an identical twin, and he owns and runs a candy store. It's the best. I would pitch this show any day of the week, and I would watch it any day of the week, the Dan Does sitcom. But he's great, and we look at a Radio Times, which is always fun. The UK's sort of version of TV Guide. We get into that here. Also hope to like the year in review. Let me know how your year went last week. But anyway, on to 2025 with this week's episode of TV Guidance Counselor with my guest all the way from the UK, Dan Does.
TV is my friend, and it has been always there for me in time of need.
Live via satellite from the United Kingdom, Dan Does. How are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you, Ken?
I'm doing all right. You know, we have some things going on here in the States, so I may...
I've no idea. What's that? What's going on?
If you have a guest room, I'll buy the cherry Bakewell tarts, and,
in our tiny British houses, we don't have spare rooms.
That is true. That was when my wife is English, she's from Stafford, and when her mom came to visit when she first moved over here and was like, there's so much room here.
Yeah.
And this was in Boston, where we're like as close to England as you can get, like geographically feeling. And I'm like, I guess there is. Have you ever visited the States?
No. I'd like to. I'd like to do a road trip, but I need to learn to drive first.
Yeah.
So I'm going to try and befriend a driver and then just get them to drive across the country. I've watched so many films growing up, I assume it can only end well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Nothing bad ever happens. Well, The Hitcher didn't end that well.
No. Yeah.
Don't pick up Rutger Hauer. As long as you don't pick up Rutger Hauer.
Well, was he real? Was he real or not?
That's the question.
He shot a helicopter down with one bullet. That didn't seem realistic to me.
Well, you haven't been to America. My favorite, The Hitcher's one of my favorite movies. And do you know the story of Eric Red, who wrote that movie?
No.
So he also wrote Bad Moon and Near Dark, and Cohen and Tate. Like all these movies have like a lot in common.
He'd do Body Bags as well. Was that him?
No, he did Body Parts. Body Parts, Jeff Fahey, which was banned here because it was supposed to come out the same week the Jeffrey Dahmer case came out, even though it had nothing to do with it.
I watched it recently because I watched Hitcher and I thought I'd look up, see what else he's done, and I thought, let's watch it. I like Jeff Fahey. He hasn't done enough. And it was a good film.
It is, but also, that's the dumbest twist for a movie Like, how,
That's what I
so if people
like.
don't know, I'm going to ruin Body Parts for everyone. This movie that came out 35 years ago, but basically, Jeff Fahey's like a convicted killer, and he's supposed to go to the death. He's supposed to be condemned to death, and his body parts are like donated to people who need parts. So one guy gets a hand or eyes. I think
He's not the killer.
Oh,
he
that's
gets
right.
one of the parts. Yeah,
Yes.
there's another guy that's the killer.
Yes, and he starts feeling like psychically like this guy's sort of controlling him. And it turns out that the killer's mother, I think, had planned to escape her son from jail by cutting him into pieces and having each piece smuggled out in order to donate
Solid.
to someone and then recollect them and put them back together.
It's a solid plan. I'd like to see you come up with a better plan.
That's true. That's true.
See, I've always wondered, to what extent does that work with the psychic link? Could you cut a finger off, give that to someone?
A tooth.
Would tooth, an earlobe?
Yeah, like where
Works
is your
like-
consciousness? How much of your body?
Where's the cut-off point?
Like I will donate my sideburns to science, and if someone gets those transplanted, they may have all my issues.
It's like one of those Madame Tussauds waxworks that are
Yes.
haunted because it's got Hitler's hair.
Right, or like
That kind of-
Waxwork,
yeah.
the Anthony Hickox film.
Oh, great film. Yeah.
The second one, not so great, but there's some fun stuff in it.
It's a bit of fun. Got Bruce Campbell in it. It's good.
I do like the Dawn of the Dead nod, which especially then, didn't happen very often. Siskel and Ebert, who are like preeminent TV movie critic show. They're both dead now. If you've never seen the Roger Ebert review of The Hitcher, highly recommend you pull that up on YouTube because he goes on a rant about how it's about gay S&M sex and it's offensive.
Why? I heard that he didn't like it. I didn't know it was because it was S&M. I missed all that.
He's like, this whole movie is just a not even veiled film about the pleasures of gay S&M relationships. Like this whole, and he goes on this weird rant. And I'm like, I mean, there's a little, not really.
Somebody should have showed him an actual film about gay S&M.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cruising.
This is about hitchhiking across America, this film.
Yeah. Cruisin' has that in there. It'd be funny if his review of Cruisin' was like, I went in expecting a gay S&M film, and this was all subtext about hitchhiking across America. Like, where's that? As someone who's driven across America, it is fun to do, and I recommend you visit here at some point. Yeah.
Did you take a lot of the back roads?
I have. I'm not going to touch that question, given what we were discussing a minute ago, as some kind of follow up to that. But yeah, you got to, and Route 66 ends on the Santa Monica Pier, like at the end of the Santa Monica Pier, which is kind of interesting, which is fun. But yeah, it's like 30 different countries in one big country. It's very different, some parts of the U.S.
Yeah. If I don't bump into a gang of sort of hillbilly mutants at one point, I'll be very disappointed.
You won't be disappointed then. You might be disappointed by how often you don't run into a gang of hillbilly mutants. Yeah, it's funny that even today they can still make horror movies about backwoods hillbilly mutants in the age of like GPS, and people are still like,
Yeah.
that's plausible.
Yeah. Where are your free words? Where are the hillbilly mutants? Oh, carpet, table, plug.
Yes.
What was the 3 words thing? Yeah.
Yeah, it's perfect. So I know you from your channel, which the algorithm gave me, and I thank them for
Oh,
it.
bloody
because
hell, did it?
Oh, yeah.
You're the one.
I'm the one, yeah. It was actually the first one it gave me was one of your like junk shop hunting videos.
Oh yeah, relatively new, those things.
Yeah, I love those because that's I do that all the time. And during COVID, I was watching a lot of videos of that kind of thing because I wasn't leaving my house. So I think that YouTube's like, you like this, you're a shut in.
So when you go, do you look for actual things that have value, or because I go looking for literal junk that I can chop up? And...
Value is subjective. I don't like flip things. I go for things that like I have too much stuff, so I try not like it has to be really good for me to buy it. But my wife has a large collection of like Staffordshire pottery and that kind of stuff. So like this room that you're seeing me in is where all my stuff is, and then the rest of the house looks like an adult lives here. But so we get stuff like that. But yeah, I just like to find a lot of times lately I'll just find weird stuff and just photograph them and post them online and get kind of the same thrill.
Yeah, for less the price.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's kind of fun. But I did used to collect more stuff, but now I'm just like getting rid of stuff because I have way too much and people send me things. And also I have no skill sets for like repurposing things like you do. For a while I was like refinishing guitars and stuff, but like really bad at it. So I kind of stopped.
Yeah. I mean, I did go through a phase of just collecting everything, and now I'll only collect things I've made myself. That might mean something, I suppose. And then eventually I'll get rid of that.
Well, it's also you're like seeding the next generation of thrift stores. Like someone will be like, "What the fuck is this pumpkin with a human face?"
Yeah.
Weird. What is
that? I'm not going to give it to these charity shops. They're not having my stuff.
They immediately call the police.
I'll give it to an actual needy person who needs a pumpkin with a human, fleshy, meaty face.
Yeah, they were like one of those at Christmas time. They have like online things you can go to where poor kids have like wish lists and you can fulfill their dreams. And you're constantly just
I check it, and I'm yet to find someone who wants a meaty faced pumpkin.
Did anyone even write gourd? Like this could work if maybe. But yes, it's a very strange place. Have you ever seen a US TV Guide, by the way?
No, I don't think I have.
Very weird. Every UK guest I have on, if they do look at one, are immediately overwhelmed and confused.
Well, looking at the British one, it's not that straightforward either, though, is it?
Comparatively, it is, because it will do like the channel for a whole day. So it'll be like, here's everything on channel 4 all day, and that's like one listing. Yeah. Here they do every like half hour. It's everything on every channel at that time.
Like a sort of cheat sheet type thing.
So it's like there's a grid. It's very confusing. It's very confusing. And I feel like in hindsight, I kind of screwed you over here by giving you May 29th to June 4th, 1993 radio times, because this is the 40th anniversary of the coronation. So it seems like that's most of the week.
Yeah. How is the Queen? I hope she's doing well.
I think she's doing all right. Yeah. I think she's taken up running lately. I think she does a lot of jogging. Yeah. Which is very exciting. For people that don't know, she's deceased. But yeah, she's also, I like how this is the 40th anniversary, but this photo of her on the cover, like, when is that from? 1930? Yeah.
She looks all right there. I'm going to scroll back up.
That's not a contemporary 1993 photo.
Yeah, she's about 19 there, isn't she?
Yeah. Yeah,
that's what I did on my 19th birthday.
Sat with a scepter and a crown and a bottle of Chambord. Is that what that is?
Yeah. I don't know what else it could be. I was going to say, what is that thing for? How do you stand that thing up on the side? It will just roll off.
Is there something in it, or is it just a gold ball?
There's magic in there.
There is.
It's full of
Sambuca. But there are some other stuffs. This is also the West Wales edition, which I think also probably screws you up a little bit, because there's like a lot of Welsh language stuff in here. Which is because you grew up, you're sort of north of London-ish, northeast?
Southeast London I grew up.
Okay.
Sort of rough Dagenham area, Essex.
Okay.
I think it's Greater London. It's on the border of London, so it means it charges London prices for absolute shithole places.
Right. You're from Samantha Fox country.
Yeah. That's what we're known for. We salute Samantha Fox every year.
Have you ever seen that footage of Samantha Fox in the tank?
No.
I think it was during the Falklands War.
Her army years.
I don't know what it was. Whatever shitty like right wing Page 2 magazine, that newspaper.
Oh, I think I do. She had a helmet on.
She gets out of a tank with a helmet on and like a bikini top, and it's like, here she comes, Samantha Fox, saluting our fallen soldiers.
But you know what? It's what they want.
It's true.
It's what they would have wanted.
It's true. So you're younger than me, so I think you're like 7 or 8 years old around this time, somewhere around there.
What year is this? 93? No, I'm 10.
You're 10.
This one.
Okay. And you, for people that don't know, you're a twin. You have a twin brother who also has a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Are you the only siblings?
I have a sister. She's downstairs right now, actually. I had to tell her I'm doing a very important podcast. Don't need to interrupt us.
Good lie. Is she older or younger?
She's younger. I also have a little brother. I forget about him, but he lives in America now.
Oh, okay. That's why you
He's
forget
10.
about him.
Yeah, he's been gone for a long time.
He was banished to the States. It was like Australia's fault. Send him to America.
He may be banished from the States, if what I've heard
Yeah.
is to come to light.
Yeah, they'll strip him of his citizenship. So, what I always imagine, like, one of the things we always discuss is like children who grew up pre-millennium. You develop a skill set that younger kids don't have, and that you have to be able to like make the case for things because there's stuff you want to watch that you have to be like, no, the reason we should watch this because you only have one TV or maybe two, and you know there's a lot of fighting. What was it like with a twin? Were you guys in sync with what you're gonna watch, or?
We like the same things. Plus, I think British TV, they were so limited. There was hardly anything. You got 4 channels. You're going to want to watch the same thing anyway, unless you've got Nan there or something who wants to watch a documentary or something on the other channel. But yeah, me and Bill, we like the same things, and we still do now.
So you're big
We've
movie
got
guys.
pretty much the same channel going
A little
on
bit.
YouTube. A little bit, yeah, similar.
To the point where I thought it was a joke of you doing a different YouTube channel, like as a character, which would be a
Ken, don't.
I know.
Don't be one of those people.
I know.
I put so much effort into this YouTube, and then someone comes along and says, "Oh, is this a practical joke channel of Bill's?" I'm thinking, "Oh, it's just something he felt like doing."
See, I thought it was your practical joke channel. Of his was one of your practical jokes, so at least I gave you the credit.
Yeah, the much more popular channel is the side gag.
That's how people do it, you know. It's like Rocket from the Crypt and Drive Like Jehu. That's how I think 4 people understood that reference. So, like, I lived in the UK late 90s, early 2000s. So 93, this was like a mystery time for me because, and I say this with my Young Ones shirt on, I like stopped paying attention around 1990 and then picked it back up around 99. So this is like a bit of a black hole.
What was you doing for 9 years?
I was in a punk rock band and, you know, being a teenager and just generally like, you know, being miserable and an asshole.
So you're probably like a few years older than me then.
Yeah, I was born in 1980, so I think I'm 3 years older than you.
Oh, it's only 3 years.
Yeah.
Oh, God. What's this, like 13 in a punk rock band?
Yeah, we started when I was 15. I mean, look at my face.
I did start a band, but I was about 22 or something when I was in a little band. We didn't do anything really, but I played guitar a bit.
What kind of band were you guys?
It was just kind of punk, sort of ska type, easy power chord shit.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Young people stuff. On the first page here, it's such an odd mix of stuff because I'm always interested to see like what American stuff we stick you guys with.
What page are we on here?
Oh, I'm just on the after the Dish or Ariel Ultra ad on the front page. Page
we got
3.
Take That down there. Take That
Yeah.
made it across the water, didn't it?
Robbie Williams did, but
Really?
Take That did not.
What about now? Because Take That have come back and they're starting to do all right.
No one knows
still not-
who they are. Yeah, it's funny. I forget if I told this story on the show before. Tom Arnold is a friend who I don't think he did much in the UK, but he was married to Roseanne, and he's in True Lies. I was at Tom Arnold's house, and I was leaving, and we were standing in the driveway, and this car drove by, and Tom basically jumped in front of the car. Yes, True Lies. There we go. Yeah, perfect. So Tom basically jumped in front of the car and he was like, Robbie! And it was Robbie Williams who just like 2-fingered him and, drove away. And he's like, oh, that's my neighbor Robbie. Cool guy. He's super famous everywhere, but not here. He was like, he's got a great pool. We should go over there. And I'm like, I love how much I can tell Robbie Williams absolutely hates you. He's your neighbor and he hates you and it's great.
Robbie Williams, Take That did really well. Robbie Williams did really well. Take That died off, and then Robbie Williams died off, and Take That came back again.
Without him?
I don't know if you saw the... Yeah, without him, he didn't join. I think it's a couple of them are left, but the other one just sort of danced in the background anyway, so it didn't matter.
Right.
But did you see the video of Robbie Williams singing Frozen songs to his wife as she was giving birth?
No.
It was horrible. She's there like, oh! And he's let it go, and he's just singing with the nurses around. I know, it's terrible.
Extra gross lyrically for giving birth, too.
I'm 100% I think it was that song. I'm pretty sure it was that song. But yeah.
Coaching her through. Yeah, that's weird, because I feel like we shouldn't see a video of his wife giving birth anyway.
Well, it was from a tasteful angle, Ken.
Oh, I mean, it's not like, we're not getting a full beef shot or anything, but like, just like the concept seems inappropriate.
I can just imagine him saying, "This is going on the internet, darling. Can you smile?
Yeah,
Can you
come
stop?
on.
That's more of a wince. What are you doing?"
Let it go. It would also, for some reason, and I don't know this, I know this isn't the context of it, but just the nature of that video makes it seem like they broke up and he wants her to take him back, and he's chosen that moment to try and win her back.
Serenade.
Yeah, that's his say anything moment. This is a very funny picture of Take That, though. Like I don't know what this looks like a thrift store. Like there was a game show where you had 5 minutes in a thrift store to put together an outfit, and this is what they came up with.
Yeah, there's Robbie on the end there with that strange hat. It's like a marble bag that you just sort of tie a little string around.
I'm trying to figure out his head, because that hat looks like he has headphones on with a winter hat over it, but he doesn't have headphones on. So I don't know what's going on in there.
It's just like a tote bag, and it's sort of just folded over the back. I think Mark, second from the left, he worn the same thing for decades now. I think.
Yeah.
A little waistcoat.
He looks
the one
the
in the
same.
middle is the one who left. He's Jason Orange. He left.
Okay. He left when the band was still a thing, or before the reunion?
They came back, and he left not long after that.
Okay.
But they were massive in the UK. Take that, huge.
They were like the UK's New Kids on the Block, I guess people put
Yeah.
it in
I
perspective.
mean, we had New Kids on the Block as well, but not to the extent we had Take That.
Right. Take That, and also bridged the post New Kids pre-NSYNC Backstreet Boys. Like they were the only boy band in that nexus, in that black hole, which is why they did so well.
Speaking of boy bands, did you have Boyzone? Boyzone.
Oh
was that over there?
no, not at all.
No?
Nope. Yeah, we didn't get. There was. I mean, I was too old to really know this firsthand, but there was a lot of like teenage girls who wanted to be like the indie rock version of teenage girls who like boy bands. So they would be like, NSYNC and Take That. I like this obscure band from England called Boyzone. Like it would be like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
No way. Oh God, I remember I for some reason when I lived in London, I kept seeing members of the band Busted.
Yeah.
Like
They're
out
still
and
around.
about. Ugh.
They're still all over the place.
Yeah, they're probably working at the places I saw them at as patrons then, though.
Did you speak to them? Were they nice?
No, they looked 14, and like,
Yeah, they
and
still
people
do.
were like, oh, and I was like, come on, man. Like, you.
I think McFly. Do you know McFly? They
Oh,
sort
I
of
remember
took
that one,
from
yeah.
Busted.
Yeah.
They were slightly more talented, I think, just a smidge, and they did a little bit better, and they're doing all right now. I think actually they're sort of coming back. I say this because I saw something on the TV the other day, and they were on it, so I'm assuming they're doing all right.
Well, you're also wearing a T-shirt of that band right now. People should know. It says, what is it? Fan club president? Is that what it says? I remember when I first moved to the UK, one of the first things I do whenever I go somewhere is immediately go to the supermarket. I like to walk around supermarkets in like new places.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to walk around an American supermarket.
It's fun. It's a good way to get the temperature of a place. See what's doing.
Well, our main supermarket got bought out by Walmart at Asda.
Oh yeah. Ugh.
Yeah, but I
Have
think
you
it's
noticed
gone
the
back
change?
now. No, it was exactly the same. Just
Oh,
on the
okay.
sign, it said Asda, and then Walmart underneath.
Oh,
I
that's
didn't
weird.
notice any difference. There were no guns, nothing.
Did the people get bigger?
Yeah,
Were sweatpants required to enter the building? I'm a snob because we don't really do Walmarts in the Northeast. Like we did look down upon them here. It's one of the few parts in
Really?
the U.S. where we're like, ugh.
Yeah, but is it not cheap? Is it the cheapest?
It's not really, actually. We do have cheaper stores. There is a chain of supermarkets unique to the Northeast called Market Basket or Market Basket or Magabaga, if you're here. And it's amazing and it's super cheap. And there's a documentary from about 10 years ago called The Battle of Market Basket because it's still family owned, but there were two cousins who had the same exact name. It was like Arthur B. Damula and Arthur T. Damula, and they were battling it out about who would own the company. They had like different visions, and so you'd have people protest and be like, Arthur T, Arthur B, fuck yeah, like it was like really contentious. And the socialist Arthur won, and he ended up everyone who works there owns part of the company, and they get like money back and stuff.
good.
But it makes all the groceries really cheap too. It's like it's a great supermarket. But that's
Yeah. Good
so,
system.
MAGA
Did
MAGA.
you say this is a documentary?
Yeah, it's called The Battle for Market Basket or something like that.
That sounds, I do like a good documentary. Is it a film?
big fan. Yeah.
Like a documentary film? Yeah,
Yeah,
great. Yeah.
I'm
I
a
like that.
great fan. Have you seen The Pez Outlaw?
I think I have, yeah. Was it when they were selling the fake pears? And
Yeah,
the fake pears
that's a
and-
good one.
Yeah.
That's a favorite.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I forget where I was even going with this now, but Take That was
You're
huge.
saying about how ugly our celebrities are, I think. Is
I
what
mean,
you
they're
were
not
saying.
that ugly. They just don't dress
they
well.
were.
They are.
We
kinda
know
ugly.
they're ugly. And
But
they're
New Kids on the
our celebs.
Block were also ugly. I mean, one of them looked like a literal ape. And, you get the Wahlberg. Like, they're not good-looking bands.
No, but I mean, there are pin-ups there, just above Cops on the Box. That I remember having her on my wall.
Yeah. Well, was this what was the other big, like, male... Jason Donovan? Was he big at this time? From
I
Neighbors?
think it probably was.
Yeah. And what was that guy's name? Something... Andre? Peter Andre?
Peter Andre, he was a bit later, Peter Andre.
Yeah.
I have a VCR here. I bought it recently, and I've been buying random tapes that people have recorded off the TV. And there was a Children in Need. I don't know if you know what that is. They have a big night on BBC One.
Yep.
Children in Need. It was from '93, I believe it was. And Peter Andre was on the show, did his performance, and he's known for his six-pack. But the host was literally trying to pull his top up to show everyone the six-pack. And he's like, nah, don't do that. I don't want you to do it. And then it's like, and then she kept trying to do it. The whole way through for 5 minutes, she's trying to lift his top up to show his six-pack. And I thought, my God, he can't. You see how uncomfortable he is. He doesn't want to get his stomach out.
Yeah.
Leave him alone. How
yeah.
times have changed, Ken.
They have. Poor Peter Andre was subjected to that kind of treatment.
To be honest, that's how he got famous.
That's true.
But still, you're not obligated to get your abs out. Trust me, I'm not. I mean, I've lived it.
Well, I didn't mention also that Dan's fan club shirt is a half shirt.
It wasn't. I cut it about an hour ago.
Yeah.
Just for this.
Come on. Yeah, it's also a man after my own heart. I also traded VHS tapes for years, like with commercials and stuff, and I have an excellent listener who's making a Plex server for me of all my DVDRs of like 10,000 VHS tapes.
I have a very good Plex server myself.
Oh, I bet you do.
Ooh,
Yeah, because you're a huge horror movie fan. Like you're
Massive,
your
yeah.
thing. Yeah, Cronenberg body horror seems to be your thing.
Yeah, there tends to be a lot of the sculpting things. That's the most fun you can have, isn't it? Sculpting body horror stuff. But recently I've got into 3D sculpting. I don't make that a part of my channel because people don't like to see it. People don't like to see high-tech stuff. They want to be able to do it themselves. But I've been finding very obscure horror creatures and making my own models of those.
Like what?
Well, let's see if you can get them. Do you know your horror films, Ken?
I do.
Yeah? Ignore the pyjamas.
No, it's fine.
Right, let's grab a couple.
Oh, and I have one for you. After. We'll go back and forth and visually on this audio podcast.
Right, there's this one. Do you
It's the
recognise
brain.
This, Ken?
It's the brain.
It is the
It's
brain. That's the easy one. Now this is a very hard one. I even spoke to the director after I made this thing, and he wasn't even bothered about it. He doesn't even like the film. Here you go.
Let's see here. We got.
It's like a little brown gremlin-looking thing with a flamethrower.
With a flamethrower.
There was a gang of these guys. One had an acid gun. One had like a sort of spiky ball gun thing. Nobody's seen this film. Nobody's seen it.
Is it relative? Is it 2000s or is it an older film?
It's 93.
93. I don't know. I give up.
It's a film called Little Devils: The Birth. It's directed by the same guy who directed Rawhead Rex. Have you seen Rawhead Rex?
Oh, I do know Rawhead Rex. Yeah, my friend Stephen Bassett did the artwork for the comic book adaptation of Rawhead Rex.
Oh, very nice. The director did say to me, if you make a model of Rawhead Rex, then I'd love to get one off you. And I thought, I ain't doing that. I'm not doing that.
You don't want a big Celtic penis monster?
I know he's not wearing a leather jacket, but he looks like he's wearing a leather jacket, Rawhead Rex. It's a strange look. Yeah.
He's got
I've read the book. It's not like the book.
No, most Clive Barker stuff is not. Sort of to the benefit.
Well, unless he directs it, I think the stuff he's directed is
I wanted more. I wanted more Lord of Illusions in that world. That's my favorite Barker movie.
I love Lord. That's great. I love Lord of Illusions.
You'll recognize this guy.
Is that Count Orlok?
Nope, it's close though. There we go.
Nosferatu?
It's Mr. Barlow from Salem's Lot, but made as a jiggle guy.
That's what I meant. Yeah, who's Count Orlok then?
Count Orlok was the name of the character in Nosferatu because they couldn't get the rights to
I meant
Dracula.
Salem's Lot guy. You're not going to believe me now, but I did mean Salem's
No,
Lot.
I assumed you meant. I could see it in your eyes. Yeah, there's a lot of that sort of oddness around here in this room for sure. I have a Belial from Basket Case Tiki mug.
Yeah. Do you know Belial was one of the first things I sculpted with clay?
Oh, really? It's a good one to sculpt.
Well, mine wasn't. It was a terrible sculpt, but
really,
I will do it again one day. Yeah,
I feel like it's hard to make a bad sculpt of Belial because he's basically like, if you stop halfway through, you think you're done. That's done.
No, because you know what? They look like messes, but they need to look like the exact same mess. Otherwise, it's not going to look like him. And it's just something in me will not. These models I've made here are exactly like they're represented on the film.
I mean, I can't speak for the second one because I haven't seen the film, but the first one absolutely is highly accurate. Did you? So when you were growing up, were you watching mostly those movies on like TV, or were you renting them?
No, see, we started watching. Me and my brother started watching horror films young. We must have been about 8. The thing is, my mother would rent a horror film from the local video store and leave it in the video player, and we'd wake up in the next morning and play it. And one of my earliest memories was watching Puppet Master. It was one of the first sort of horror films I watched. But yeah, we liked them, even though they scared the shit out of us. We watched them. Oh
yeah, no, it was the same. Charles Band's Puppet Master was a big one. My mother used to rent videos and then dump me at my grandfather's house and just put the videos on, and my grandfather would just sit in the kitchen in the dark and smoke. Because he was a depressed man from Norway. But I've told this on the show before, but you'll appreciate it. The only time he ever came out of the kitchen, he would literally just sit in there in the dark and smoke, and there was like a nicotine ring on the ceiling. My mother, one of the movies she rented was The Exorcist, and I must have been 5, 6.
Oh, that's too young for The Exorcist.
And the crucifix scene came on. That's
exactly what came to mind.
Yep. And my grandfather, who was a big giant man, he reminded me of not Bela Lugosi, but specifically Martin Landau as Bela Lugosi and Ed Wood. And he came in and he put his hand in the VCR. He didn't press eject. He put his hand in the VCR and ripped the tape out and then smashed it on the wall. Jeez. And then went back into the kitchen and just lit up a cigarette. He didn't say a word.
Yeah. God, how do you even rip a tape out of a machine?
It was pretty impressive. The machine was not functional after.
Bloody hell. Yeah. Was it his machine?
Yeah. Yeah, but I don't think he ever used it. I think someone gave it to him for a gift, like one Christmas or something. So that was a fun one. So yes, I very much can identify with that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad I watched those things. Although I've got a daughter now, I wouldn't let her watch those things. Although I've been slowly introducing her to horror films. What would you say would be a sort of a reasonable horror film for a 7-year-old? I've tried Tremors. Tremors is okay.
Yeah, that's a fun one. Gremlins.
Troll. The first Troll film.
Yeah, which is more of a fantasy film, I guess. Although I felt that really did disturb me, that movie, for some reason. The House films, especially House 2.
Yeah, I did House. I did House 2. I didn't do House 1 yet.
Yeah.
Hey, yeah.
Monster Squad.
Yeah. See, I never watched Monster Squad growing up. I had a lot of friends that did. It just slipped me by.
It's
I've
fun.
seen it now.
It's a good
Yeah.
kids one. It's not that scary. There are ones that are like PG-13 that you would think would be kid appropriate that I think would probably disturb her too much, like Lady in White.
Yeah, well, I think the thing with kids is the ghost things that they assumed were safe for us back in the day. They're the scariest things for kids.
Yeah.
They're the things that resonate with you most, that they sort of last. It's always the ghost stuff that I remember being scared of because they could be real, at
Yeah.
least when you're a child. Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah, especially in the UK because you had all those. So for people that don't know, like Halloween's sort of relatively newly celebrated in the UK. Like, did you go trick or treat when you were a kid?
No, we did
Yeah.
a thing called Penny for the Guy, which was
Yeah.
just basically begging.
Yeah, so that's
Yeah.
kind of the opinion of it. So like the spooky season is like Christmas because it's like a ghost story for Christmas, and like all the TV ghost story things usually come out around Christmas, which is such an interesting thing to me because we don't associate that with Christmas at all.
Halloween is getting bigger here, but well, it was last year, and this year it was pretty much nothing. I mean, I love Halloween,
Yeah.
obviously, because of the horror films, but they don't show horror films at Halloween anymore. I don't know if it's the same over there.
So yes and no. It's like because everyone can on demand stuff. I don't think they program stuff as much anymore. But I do remember, like, I was exposed to so much cool stuff when I lived in the UK on TV. Like there was a show called Out There, I think, in the early 2000s, that was like this woman, Emily Booth, hosted it, and it was like weird clips.
I know
from,
Emily Booth.
Yeah, it was like weird clips from weird B movies and that kind of stuff.
Mm.
And then like Jonathan Ross's stuff, Incredibly Strange Film Show, was like massively huge in my life. Alex Cox and the Cinemadrome or Moviedrome, that kind of stuff was like mind blowing.
You must have been here when 4 Later was going. Channel
Yes.
4 would have the 4. That's my bag. That is. I
Yeah.
love 4 Later. I've desperately tried to find as much of it as I can.
I think I
know
have
about.
when they showed The Devils, I want to say, which was like the first time they showed it. I think.
See, I was the perfect age for 4 Later. That was a great sort of coming of age sort of segment.
Was it Friday
I suppose.
nights?
It's Fridays and Saturdays, I think.
Yeah, and they would like have it like put it in context. I think the League of Gentlemen hosted some. I think they showed Blood on Satan's Claw or something like that, if I recall.
I don't remember. There was a TV show I loved called Vids. I don't know if you remember that.
I don't
It was,
remember Vids, no.
A Welsh guy and a Scottish guy in a video shop, and they just review films.
Oh, that
That's where I
sounds
got a lot
pretty cool.
of my film. Yeah, you can still find those online. It's just that's where I got a lot of my sort of weird film picks from as a child from that show.
Do you remember a couple that were like specifically from that?
Well, I watched them all again recently, so I can remember all of them. Let's think. Well, see, anime wasn't big over here. It was
Yeah.
very hard to find any kind of anime. They would review a lot of anime that would interest me a lot because I was the right age for that. Films like Killer Tongue. Do you know Killer Tongue?
Killer Tongue,
Yeah,
a Mexican
that was
movie,
on
I
there.
think, with what's her name from Return of the Living Dead Part 3, right? Melinda something, yeah.
Yeah, it's just all kinds of stuff like that.
Yeah,
A lot
anime,
of,
I stopped at like Vampire Hunter D and Akira. That was like as far as I went.
Yeah. That's pretty much all you could find here.
Yeah.
I mean, there wasn't really anything else, yeah. That and the really dirty stuff, but yeah.
Yeah,
that's it.
like Legend of the Overfiend and that kind of weird stuff.
Yes. I bought that from a W.H. Smith's at the age of 13. They had no idea what they were
I
selling.
can't believe they sold that there.
I know. It was terrible.
That's like
I watched the
Soho
thing,
bookshop material.
I know. That's worse than the worst stuff from memory. I've not watched it in a long time, but it's worse than a lot of the stuff you can buy as an adult.
Yeah.
To be
Oh,
honest.
for sure.
Yeah.
That's insane that it was at W.H. Smith because you would not have gotten that here. People were like a little more savvy here. I'm going through this here. There's all these shows I've never heard. Like Imelda Staunton, I know that actress. And she's in a thing called Don't Leave Me This Way, which is like a murder show.
I have no memory of this. If I don't remember it, then I'm assuming it didn't do very well.
It's hard to tell in the UK because stuff wouldn't rerun that often. And since a season is like 6 to 13 episodes, it's like hard for me to tell what did well and what didn't.
Oh, I don't know. I think they would rerun a bit, wouldn't they? Surely.
Who the hell
Mind
is...
you, I wasn't into crime dramas at that age, I suppose.
No, you have to be like retired, I think, for that one. Nick Ravel, I don't know who this is, but this photo of him is absolutely terrifying.
Yeah, I don't look at that.
He's a stand-up, I guess.
Yeah.
It's a Radio 4 show. Okay, so at least he's on the radio. We're not having a look at him.
I wasn't listening to the radio at 10 years old.
No, not at all.
No. Maybe the charts. That would be it.
So this is radio time. So, but one thing I've mentioned on the show before is it's always hilarious to me that, we had a TV guide for like 200 channels, but in the UK you had 4 channels, 5 later, but 2 different magazines technically to get them all listed, because one was just BBC stuff and one was the other stuff. Although by this time they've integrated, so this one is listing like everything that's on the other channels as well. Very strange.
There was cable at this point as well, I think.
You'd have like
There was a
Sky
few
TV or something.
Well, it was called cable when I was a kid. It was a box.
Okay.
It wasn't Sky. It was without the dish, so you'd just have the wire going underground. We had a chipped one. It was illegal.
Yeah.
But yeah, all the channels on there, including the dirty ones.
Yep.
Everything was on there for a young, impressionable teen.
I built a black box when I was a teenager. I got the plans out of Maximum Rock and Roll magazine, and I put a parental code on the dirty channels. And I remember my dad once had to be like, "Hey, what is there a code on some of the channels?" I was like, "Yeah, why?" And he was like, "What?" And like I really humiliated him. I was like, "I'll give you the code. What are you watching? What are you?" And he was like, "No, I just in case there's some emergency." Like he was going. I was like, "What are you watching?" And then eventually he went, "Foxy Boxing." And I was like, "Here's the code. Enjoy your Foxy Boxing."
That's all you had. That's all you had to say. Mm-hmm. That's all you had to say. Yep.
Yep. But no, you had to come up with an emergency, something. Yeah. And it's interesting too. I noticed that like BBC Two was showing the original Parenthood series, which was the first version of the movie that they did on TV with Ed Begley Jr. and Thora Birch was in it. Great Halloween episode of that show, but was from, this is 93, and that show aired in like 1988 in the US.
Oh, see, I've not seen the film. I've not.
The film is good.
I've not seen the series either. To be honest,
it has a dildo joke in it, which is not
Does
family
it?
appropriate. Yeah, I
was watching Frankenhooker the other day
with your daughter.
I think. I was actually watching it in the back room of a sweet shop, so I was just hoping nobody came in. Yeah, I do own a sweet shop, by the way.
Yes, that's the other thing. Yeah,
which is everyone, and dildos must have been relatively new or unheard of because the woman called it a dildo. I got a dildo.
that sounds like a motivational dildo.
Yeah, it does. Do or do not.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've had James Lorenz from Frankenhooker on the show, who makes me laugh everything he says because he has a hilarious accent. But in Parenthood, there's a joke where like the lights go out and someone's like, "Find a flashlight," and Steve Martin's like, "Oh, I have one," and the lights go back on and it's a vibrator, and then one of the kids is like, "What is that?" And he's like, "It's an electric ear cleaner." Shake it right out of there. So this is also the time when the Red Nose Awards are going on, though. So this is the Red Nose Day, isn't that April Fool's Day?
Comic Relief.
Yeah.
No, Comic Relief, Red Nose Day. It's the big charity thing. It's every 2 years.
Okay,
So it'd be, or I think it's 2 years or 4 years, but it'd be Red Nose Day 1 year and then Comic Relief the next year.
Gotcha.
And alternate. Comic Relief was the much more serious one. Red Nose Day was full of comedy. You'd always be disappointed when it was Comic Relief and not Red Nose Day.
Because it was like, it'd be like a bad, boring sketch with just cameos, and then like, here's a bunch of footage of starving children.
Yep.
But the Comic Relief one is when they would usually do like a novelty single, right? It would be like some comedian and a famous musical artist would have like a joke cover that would come out.
Well, the 93 one that I saw the other day, I don't know if you remember, they did a version of Perfect Day.
No.
With lots of stars. Tom Jones, M People. These are a lot of British stars.
The Velvet
Tom
Underground
Jones, Tom
song?
Jones.
Is that Perfect Day?
Yeah, and he was in it as well. He was singing a part of it. Yeah. Such a perfect day, that one. And it had Fun-Loving Criminals, everyone, a massive collaboration.
That's
a lot of
very
British stars
weird.
and a few Americans, yeah.
That's a
That
very
was-
weird song to have that be like a charity anthem.
I know. Well, I'm guessing they've changed the meaning of it. 'Cause
Still.
It literally means a perfect day this time.
Yeah, it's like we're going to do Walk
Yeah.
on the Wild Side for children's charity, and we're going to call it like Walk on the Child Side or something. We changed it ever so slightly, and now it's great for this year. Yeah. So then there's a bunch of music stuff because they do the radio listings, which I skipped through because it was like what I assume BBC would be airing on the radio in 1993, which is like just a lot of classical music and stuff about World War II. But on page 10 of the PDF, there's an ad in here for a thing called the Friends of the Elderly, which is a charity. I never heard of it before, but
Neither have I.
their logo is incredible. It's almost like the handicap people logo for like a handicap space, but one of them appears to be deceased or the other one's holding them back from fighting. I don't know what's going on there.
It's just like he's shaking his
Yeah.
life. Give me money.
Give me money.
Look, she needs it.
But then the headline at the top is like a threat because it says, "One day you may need a friend." It's not like help these people. It's like, yeah, if you don't help us, you're going to be sorry. Very fun. Then we got cricket, which was on way too much when I lived there. Cricket and snooker. Couldn't.
Are you a sports fan? Ken?
No. Look at me.
No, I didn't
Look at
think
me.
so. Yeah, I didn't want to presume.
There's also a product. I always love UK product names because they'll be just slightly weird to me. Like your version of NyQuil is called Night Nurse, and your version of Weed Killer is called Weed Master.
I think they called it Night Nurse just so they could use that song, Night Nurse.
I loved Night Nurse. I will say this. I would stock up every time I'd be in the UK because that was like 700 proof NyQuil. Like that would knock you on your ass for 3 days. It was great.
I've never tried it. You know, I really should.
Oh, if you're ill,
You've
if you
encouraged
are
me.
ill, I highly recommend it. If you're ill and you just want to be dead to the world for a week, get
Do you need
yourself
to be ill or can you just want to sleep?
Well, I should be saying ill with air quotes. If you just want to go to sleep for a while, which I think we all do, it's the closest thing you're going to get to like a magical elixir. It's like being enchanted. That's what Night Nurse is like.
I bet you it's a lot weaker than it was in 93.
Oh, God. Yeah. Then there's some politics stuff in here. Then there's a full page ad asking if you're having a stroke.
They got the old fast thing now, haven't they? The FAST.
This is not that. I thought it was a joke because it says, "Are you at risk from a stroke?" And it says 1 tick means yes. And the joke of it is everybody's at risk, but it took me a while for that to hit. So the questions are literally, do you have teenage children? Do you like rock music? Do you sing in the bath? Do you dislike your in-laws?
There must be someone must pass this without a single tick. There must be somebody.
Do you keep tropical fish? Do you own a dog? Have you ever bet on the Grand National?
There's bound to be people that have not ticked any of these.
Yeah, no, like I'm good. I'm good.
And that's I could breeze through life.
I do not enjoy reading
Strokeless.
novels. I am A-okay. But like it's a weird tactic to go joke.
Yeah.
Let's go joke to make a point. Then we have the Queen thing here. It's very involved. It's funny to me too because I feel like Americans always overestimated how much people in the UK gave a shit about the royal family, especially positively.
I always imagined that you lot would. You sort of think, you don't dare insult the royal family while English Dan's around.
Yeah.
And I don't give a fuck.
That's
Really,
his
like-
owner. Like it's like
Yeah.
yeah. People.
Do you know what she's done for me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Personally, it's very strange because I'm like, why would they care? That's like, yeah. But this is a false sense of it because it's a 40th anniversary.
Yeah.
And
They're making us care.
You have to care.
Forcing us to. Yeah.
on page 24 of the PDF, which is an ad for Kodak, and it's right in the middle of the Queen stuff. But when I was scrolling, I didn't see that it was an ad for Kodak, so I thought it was part of the piece. And if you
That's
wanted
the Queen on a bumper car.
yeah, it's a grandmother absolutely terrified on a bumper car. Like, this woman looks like she thinks she's going to die. And I was like, but yeah, it's separate.
It's the Queen and young Harry there.
He is a redhead kid. It could be.
Yeah. This was back in the day when they were called bumper cars. Now
Yes.
they're called Dodgems.
Not here.
Because you're not allowed to. No, it's still bumper cars.
Oh,
though.
yeah.
We're not allowed to bump here.
What do you
You've got
do with
dodge.
them? You can't do head-on collisions?
Dodge. That's why they're Dodgems now.
Well, what are you dodging if you can't bump?
You're just dodging each other. It's weird.
That seems not fun. Oh, yeah, we would head-on collision on these things as a kid because carnies don't care.
So many chipped teeth.
Yeah, but they grow back.
Smacking your head.
If kids' teeth didn't grow back, like that's, of course you're meant to go head-on collision as a kid. That's why your
These
teeth
are the
grow back.
first ones. These are the first adult teeth to come through, aren't they, at the front?
Yeah.
So you've got like the two brand new teeth. The rest are all kids' teeth. These are the ones that get smashed.
Well, that's what
They're
you
not
gotta
coming back.
You got to do all the dangerous head-on collisions before you're like 10.
Yeah.
It's not my fault if you didn't know what you had when you had it.
See, I wouldn't go. I used to let my daughter go on like a big wheel thing, but it would be put up for 2 days, and anything that's put up in 2 days, I've decided you're not going on that.
Yeah.
Anything that can kill you that's been put up in like a day and taken down the next day, I'm not letting you do.
So all
Alton
carnies.
Towers, yeah, Thorpe Park, Alton Towers, all those kind of things, they're fine. They're built to last. These things, that wasn't there this morning when I left for work.
Yeah.
Now suddenly there's a big wheel.
And I've seen the people who put that together. I wouldn't trust IKEA furniture those people put together.
No, you go around the big wheel, and this was actually it was last one when I was going around the big wheel. It was lovely fresh air because it was quite chilly. It was like a Christmas market. Come down through a cloud of weed, and then you go up again,
From the employees.
and then yeah, from the guy just doing the thing.
The guy putting the tilt-a-whirl together has a lit cigarette in his mouth with another lit cigarette in his hand. Back and forth. Like, yeah.
He's just forgotten about that one. He's just
Another good movie.
lights another.
Toby Hooper's Funhouse. My favorite Toby Hooper movie.
That is a great monster. It's a strange design. There's a great monster there.
Very, very weird. I have the novelization here, which is the best thing Dean Koontz ever wrote. Oh, it's literally...
Do you think?
Literally right here. Yeah.
I didn't know it was Dean Koontz.
He did it under a pen name. So again, if you're playing TV Guidance Counselor Bingo at home, you're going to get a square because Dan will appreciate the story. So I'm going to tell him. When I was in college, I took a horror fiction class, and the guy who taught the class was a horror sci-fi writer who wrote under the name Gary Braver. But he was an Armenian guy named Gary Gashgarian, and he looked like Cousin Larry Appleton from Perfect Strangers, if you've ever seen that show. And he was friends with other horror authors. So at one point, Stephen King spoke to the class. So people would sign up for this class because they're like, Stephen King might come in and whatever. So when I took it, we had Dean Koontz come in. And I don't like Dean Koontz. I don't think he's a great writer. And we read Hideaway, which I don't know if you've read Hideaway or seen the
I've
film.
seen the film.
It's terrible, and the ending of it literally is a Deus Ex Machina. Like a friggin' angel comes in out of nowhere and saves everyone. That's how the book ends. It's so lazy. So Dean Koontz came in, and he's like, "Hey, what'd you think of the book?" And no one's saying anything. And he's like, "Come on, I can take it." Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, "I thought it was terrible." And he's like, "What?" And then I was like, "Yeah, you had literally had an angel come in, and it's just really lazy. The story's no good, and but I had a valid criticism." And he goes, "Well, a lot of people bought that book." And then I said, "Well, they bought it before they read it, though." And then he got really mad, and he was like, he said something about how he won an award, and I was like, "Yeah, you're all right, I guess." And I said, "I like your Funhouse adaptation," which he wrote under a pen name previously, but it's really good. He goes into like all this backstory that it was not in the movie.
Because the film, there's not too much depth to the film, is there? I don't think.
No,
It's
but
literally
there's
just
like connections between the characters, and you get like a lot more like he added a lot of stuff, and it's actually a pretty good novelization.
Was it Dean Koontz or was it Michael Crichton that wrote? I don't think it was. I think it was Dean Koontz who wrote Phantoms. Did you ever see Phantoms?
Yes, that's Dean Koontz.
I thought that was quite a good story. I
Yeah.
was thinking about that the other day in the shower. I don't know why it just popped into my head.
Well, because there's things coming out of drains in the film.
That's it, yeah. And I had just watched it on VHS as well, and I'm thinking that was quite a good idea. I didn't. That was a sort of a stage when I wasn't really into horror, because horror around 2000 was a bit shit.
Yeah.
But
CGI
that was an alright story.
See if you agree on this one. John Carpenter's Vampires.
I saw that in the cinema.
I did too. Could have been great. Can you guess what my biggest complaint about it is?
Well, my biggest complaint is the lack of... Well, the worst Baldwin brother, firstly.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. I think maybe just kept his gang alive a bit longer, to be honest.
My problem was you had James Woods in a character that was clearly written for Kurt Russell.
Yeah. It even looked like Kurt Russell's jacket.
Everything about that character needed to be Kurt Russell for it to work, and you can't replace Kurt Russell with James Woods. There is no Kurt Russell role that James Woods could step into. Not a one.
Always something off about him playing the tough guy in that film. That jacket looked like it was his dad's.
Yeah.
It did.
It's like, who are you fooling? And on the inverse, I think there are several James Woods roles that I could put Kurt Russell in, and it would work. Videodrome is
No, Videodrome's great, I was going to say. I did like James Woods. I think James Woods is probably my favourite Simpsons cameo of all time.
Yeah.
Yeah. But hasn't he gone off the...
Oh, yeah. He blocked me on Twitter and called me gay once because he was saying some horrible stuff, and I would only reply to him with a JPEG of his stomach vagina from Videodrome with no other words. Yeah, really. Which I'm like, hey, man, you're going to, I have it here. So then we got our big thing about Take That with even more ridiculous shirtless photos of them.
You seen the film Stardust?
Yes.
They did the soundtrack for Stardust.
Oh, okay.
Music in there, yeah.
That
was when they came back.
This is best band in the world by their adoring fans who have added various other accolades such as best haircut, most fanciable male, and most kissable lips.
Which haircut? Which one?
I don't know. Like, they don't say, they just say that the band has that. I'm like, okay.
Just combined.
Combine
all of their haircuts.
All their haircuts. You get that there. Then there's an interesting thing about like all the different police procedural shows. That's sort of the US and UK ones are mixed together here. But for the most part, it seems to me that like the biggest US exports that were hits in the UK were always like procedural police shows.
Yeah.
They translate, I guess. You don't...
Yeah. Everyone loves a mystery.
Although Department S, I really did enjoy. The UK show Department S.
I don't know what that is.
It's sort of X-Files-y. I believe that... who's the guy that David Dickinson looked like? He's the antiques dealer.
Lovejoy?
Yes.
Lovejoy, yeah.
Lovejoy, I think, was a spin-off from Department S.
Oh, I didn't know that. Lovejoy is actually quite a good show. I've watched a few. And I always look back and I think that looks boring as sin. But he's a very... I think it's after watching him in Deadwood, I've sort of gone back and thought he is a good actor.
Yeah.
Ian McShane.
Yeah.
Ian McShane, yeah.
Who was in a ton of US stuff. He was in a bunch of failed pilots here, including...
Was he?
Project Diamond Head, which was like a weird spy thing set in Hawaii and like a bunch of other weird stuff. People know him now probably from the John Wick movies, most.
Yeah, they should know him from Deadwood.
Yeah, Deadwood is great.
Underrated.
My aunt loved Deadwood and didn't know what it was called, so she would only refer to it as cocksucker. Yeah. And I've had Jim Beaver on from Deadwood. Speaking of Deadwood, Jim's been on twice.
Really?
Yeah, he's a very interesting guy. He's also in Supernatural and was on
The Boys recently.
The Boys, and what's the show with the bounty hunter with Timothy Olyphant?
Justified?
Yeah, Justified. But Jim's a writer. He started as a writer first and is an expert on Superman. But he goes, well, Milch asked me if I wanted to write a Deadwood, and I said, nope, can't do that. I could write a Justified. He was literally like, this show's too good for me to be able to write.
It is like Shakespeare.
Yeah.
The dialogue in Deadwood. I mean, I don't know how much of a fan of it you are, but it's my favourite TV show.
Everybody loves it. I've never watched it.
What?
It's on my list.
You should watch it.
I have
It's
it. I'm
great.
looking at it, but
The dialogue is like Shakespeare. It's just brilliant.
I think I have an aversion to any shows set before electricity?
There's electricity in this.
Is there? Okay. I don't know. Old West,
I
Old
don't
West
know.
could go either way.
It's 1888. Is there electricity then? I don't
Probably.
know.
I will watch it eventually. So then we get all the films that are on here for this is spring holiday break. So the first thing you said, you went mostly films, right?
Well, yeah, because a lot of the stuff wasn't really kid friendly. Although I did look on, there's a channel called Children's TV or Children's Channel or something, Cartoon Channel, which I would watch a lot of that now.
Yeah.
I don't think I had it back then. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of it is police shows or soaps around. But it's that sort of 8-ish, 10-ish o'clock sort of time.
Yeah, nighttime soaps were huge. I forget how like massive nighttime soaps were in the UK because that was daytime stuff here. And then like our primetime action shows were children's shows in the UK. So like the A-Team and Knight Rider, which would be on at like 10 o'clock here for like adults, were on at like 2 in the afternoon after school for children.
Yeah, that's what I remember. A lot of like A-Team sort of in the afternoon, jumping off my Nintendo, running in to watch A-Team. And yeah, all the soaps are sort of in the evening. Strange.
Yeah, you got like Smokey and the Bandit. Birds of a Feather was still on.
Oh, yeah, my mother would have been watching Birds of a Feather because it was very close to where we lived. It was just around the corner. Was where it was set.
Oh, okay.
I hated it. I hated that show. I don't know why I watched it. I suppose you were just forced as a child.
Yeah, you had no choice. Yeah, this was like a sitcom about like women.
Two common women.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They'd be common as muck. And it would just reminded me of my mother's sort of common accent and all this kind of thing. Everything I've tried to lose.
Yeah. I'm like that for the Boston accent, but we didn't really have a show about like Boston common people that was very popular. New Kids on the Block really is what that would be. A show called Singers and Swingers, which sounds a lot more exciting than it is. That's the Everly Brothers and Les Dawson. It's a show from the 60s that they're re-airing on BBC Two.
Oh, Les Dawson. Terrible.
He was like an old northern men's club
he's from
comic.
the racist comic generation.
Yeah.
Yes, he's from the ist generation.
Yes,
of comics.
yes.
Yeah.
And then you do have I Got News for You, which is a show that we have it. It's just started in the U.S. The U.S. version of Have I Got News for You literally has just started this year.
No. It died here, I think. I think nobody watches it over here anymore.
But the panel shows...
We give it to you.
There's so many others, too, that like is QI still on? Or like all that... Like, we never had panel shows here. It never worked. They could never make it work.
A bulk of our TV was panel shows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They've tried a bunch of...
Strange.
They tried a version of Buzzcocks here that didn't work. They just don't work here. I don't know why. It's very strange.
See, my favourite was Shooting Stars
Yes.
with Vic Reeves, and you'd get an American guest, and they were so lost.
Larry
they didn't know
Hagman.
what was going on. Yeah.
Christian
They're
Slater.
so confused. And it's almost sort of like I'm wincing a little bit.
It's great.
And this is me as a young kid. I love it. I love Vic and Bob. They're still... Their comedy is still relevant now. They've done the same comedy since they started, and it's still just as funny now as it was then. And it's not controversial. Well, mostly.
Yeah.
It survived. It's
They
done well.
blew my mind. So that was I when I first moved to the UK, I stole cable from the pub that was behind my halls of residence at Goldsmiths. I was up all night all the time, so they had a cable line. So I split it. I cut it in half and split it and fed it into my dorm room. And
Are you a bit of an electrician, Ken?
no, I could, but that was easy. It's just a coax and you put a splitter on. It was super easy. I'm like, they won't notice because I cut it in the middle of the night. The scary part was if I didn't catch the other piece as it fell, so I could like rejoin them. But so I had cable, so I got like BBC Gold or something, or UK Gold, and they would show Shooting Stars every night, and I had never seen it before, never heard of it, never heard of Vic and Bob, and it blew me away. I was like, this is insane. This is so funny and weird. We would never have anything like this on TV here, and I just fell in love with those guys.
That's what I grew up with. That's what my sense of humour comes from, a lot of that stuff.
Because their stuff seems old-fashioned, but at the time, because of the way they did it and because it was so old-fashioned, it was kind of alternative.
I think they got they got the awkward humour down before anybody else. I mean, a lot of The Office and stuff is relying on awkward scenes or whatever, but they had it down. Everything they did was kind of awkward, but they would play well with each other.
But not hateful awkward. It would just be like strange awkward.
Yeah.
Which was the key, I think. Did you see online a few years ago they did like shorts for Carling on YouTube?
No, unless I didn't realise it was for Carling.
They're still online. They're clearly them improving, and they're just bizarre and funny. And I still quote some of them. Like there's one where Bob Mortimer plays like this statue of like a soccer player, and he's just chatting with Vic Reeves, and he's like, yeah, no, I've been going to this nightclub. And he's like, oh, what's it called? He's like, Satsumas. And he's like, I haven't heard of that. He's like, yeah, well, it's underground. And they're like going to this whole like bizarre thing. It's very funny.
Did you have anything like that in America?
No.
Anything close to it?
No. So like, I think the unique presence that you had that we didn't is Jonathan Ross, who I would say the closest thing we had to Jonathan Ross was probably somewhere between David Letterman and Conan O'Brien, but even more mainstream than those guys, where he had this mainstream, Jonathan Ross, very famous TV presenter in the UK, but had this weird sensibility. Like he loves Russ Meyer movies and horror films and bizarre punk rock and all this stuff. So he would put people like Vic and Bob on TV on these bizarre, doing whatever they wanted on these mainstream shows, and we never had anything like that here. The closest maybe was like David Cross and Bob Odenkirk, who did a thing called Mr. Show. That
I've heard of Mr. Show.
Yeah, but that was a sketch show and it was on HBO and it was obscure. Like there was nothing like that here. Like you just couldn't. People would be like, "What is this?"
Speaking of Jonathan Ross, his wife Jane Goldman wrote Stardust.
Yes, she did. Yeah, she wrote the script based on the Neil Gaiman story. She also wrote X-Men First Class, I think.
And Kick-Ass.
Yeah, one of the X-Men films. But yeah, the incredibly strange film show that he did, that changed my life.
I've been meaning to get around to that. I've just finished watching, although I watched it plenty of times, Japanorama.
Yes.
Did you ever see that?
Yes, Japanorama's great.
I love that.
He also did a great documentary In Search of Steve Ditko. I don't know if you've seen that one. That's really good.
No.
Steve Ditko, the Marvel artist who lost his mind and became an Ayn Randian objectivist. Which is fantastic. So you got all this stuff here. There's a thing called Best of the Cutting Edge, which sounds exciting, but isn't. It's about diseases. That's on Channel 4. Because I immediately go to Channel 4, because at this time especially, like Channel 4 was like this is the cool kind of alt stuff. Channel 5 wasn't around yet. I think that started like 96.
No, not yet. Yeah.
But on this night, like, Drop the Dead Donkeys on, which is like a political...
Yeah, I never watched that. I think maybe I was too young for that at the time. I watched The Bill. The Bill seems to be on late, though. That's a police show.
Yeah, that's a rerun. I feel like if you're an actor in the UK, you've been on The Bill.
I think they have. You go on IMDb and everybody has been on The Bill. It looks like World Cup football pushed that forward. That annoyed me.
Yeah.
The big football games pushing everything around, shifting them. On BBC One, there's a film called Gladiator. Did you watch that? The boxing game, the sort of street boxing game?
With Robert Culp. Yeah, I've never even heard of this. And Ken Wall. So this would be like a 90s movie. Ken Wall was on the show Wise Guy here. I'm wondering if this is a made-for-TV movie that was made here and then came out in the UK because Abel Ferrar directed it.
Oh,
Of Driller Killer.
He's the Driller Killer.
Yeah. I wonder if this was maybe called something else here. Maybe it was a TV movie. I don't know. I'd never heard of it. And it's like an Abel Ferrar movie with actors I know of, but that does look kind of interesting. Rick Benton is attacked by the Skull and his younger brother is killed. Obsessed with revenge, Rick converts his pickup truck into a powerful armored weapon.
It sounds great.
Nancy Allen is in it. That sounds pretty sweet. And Brian Robbins, the man who runs Nickelodeon now, is in it.
I see. Abel Ferrari kind of puts me off a little bit.
Yeah.
There's a few. The Addiction's pretty good.
Yeah. Miss 45 has some interesting things in it.
The Funeral was all right.
Yeah.
King of New York was in as well.
Yeah. Bad Lieutenant, not a fan.
No, I don't really want to see Harvey Keitel's schlong.
No. They should have just called it that. That's the only reason people would see
Harvey Keitel's schlong.
Yeah. There's also a thing called the Good Sex Guide, and it says this series mixes comedy interviews and expert advice with guests Tony Robinson, Bernard Hill, Julia Hills, and Hayden Gwen, presented by Margie Clark.
The least sexy people on the TV at the time.
I don't even know who they are, but just their names, I can agree with you. I can picture what I think they look like.
You ever seen Blackadder?
Yes.
Tony Robinson's his little baldrick. From Blackadder.
Yeah, I don't want to hear him talking about sex on TV.
Yeah.
That's terrible. Sunday, what do we got? Anything good on Sunday evening that night?
What would I would...
Oh, Movie Drome. You got Alex Cox showing Darkman.
And then they got Darkman afterwards. Yeah, that sounds like a good night in.
Yeah, I love his intros to that show. I don't know if you watched those at the time.
I didn't at the time, no. I would now.
They're all online. It's funny because Alex Cox is the best. That Repo Man's my favorite movie. And I had Alex on a couple months ago.
You've had him on?
Yeah.
I saw that. Yeah.
Awesome guy, but it's funny because his Movie Drome intros, a lot of the times there were movies he didn't like. But he wouldn't be snarky about it. He'd just be like, this movie's fine. And then he'd be like, this is pretty good in it. The rest of it's kind of like, eh. Like, he would just be very honest. And it's really refreshing and interesting because the thing he told me he would try to be positive about it. But so sometimes it would be like, yeah, the art direction's pretty good. There's this scene, it's cool. Yeah, it's fine. Like, just be like, what a weird way to host a movie. Because it's usually the extreme either way. Like, this is the greatest movie ever. Like, we're going to shit on this movie. He's just like, yeah.
A very apathetic review.
Yeah. But that's it. Yeah, there's kind of nothing. I mean, Sundays were, at least when I was in the UK, were the worst TV day. And
yeah.
like,
There's shows like on ITV, Heartbeat.
Jeeves and Wooster, which is
this
Stephen
is
Fry and Hugh Laurie.
depressing shit. This is stuff that just reminds you you've got school in the morning.
Spitting Image,
Horrible
which was
shit.
just terrifying.
Yeah.
But Channel 4 is showing The Wonder Years and Mystic Pizza that night, so that's pretty good.
Yeah, I think I would have watched Mystic Pizza. Or my mother would have watched it and I would have watched it and sort of like, hey, we're bonding, although we're not saying anything.
We just drove through Mystic, Connecticut a couple days ago, which Mystic Pizza is a place and it's there.
Did you get any pizza?
I didn't, no. I got a steamed cheeseburger instead, which is
steamed cheese.
Yeah, it's a weird, unique thing in Connecticut where they're in these metal boxes and they steam the burger and then steam the cheese, and it's pretty good. Pretty good.
Yeah, does it taste a bit sort of watery?
A little bit. It wasn't like soggy, but it was like, it tasted to me like a Wendy's burger when Wendy's was good.
See, there was a Wendy's that opened up behind me when I was a child, and it lasted about 2 or 3 months, and it was gone.
I think
I've not seen one since.
I think there's one at Heathrow Airport still. It's like the only one in the UK, so that they can just slowly introduce people into the country.
Yeah.
There's one of the most deceptively named shows that I was like, oh, this sounds interesting. It's called The Long Summer. And then I read the description and it goes, continuing the series looking at life in Britain between 1919 and 1939, narrated by Alan Bennett. Like,
Jesus.
Why have you called it The Long Summer? That doesn't sound fun.
Because it was boring. That's why it was The Long Summer.
Oh, yeah, Children's Channel. That's what you're probably thinking of. That was on.
Yeah. Looking at this, there's some great stuff on there.
Well, Hammerman. I mean, you're a huge Hammerman fan.
I was at the time. Well, I don't think I was. I was a fan of the cartoon. Dungeons and Dragons.
That was a great cartoon.
There.
Yep. 15, which was a Canadian Nickelodeon soap opera set in high school, but it was the first thing Ryan Reynolds did.
Round the Bend?
Round the Bend, Round the Twist?
No, Round the Bend, I think. If it's the one I'm thinking of, it's the one with a sort of puppet crocodile in a sewer.
Oh.
I don't know if that's...
We didn't get that
very
one
obscure. Here. It might not be that one, but I'm sure... Oh, The Adventures of Teddy Ruxpin. My sister had a Teddy Ruxpin speaking.
Horrifying.
Teddy thing. Worth a lot of money now, though.
The worm was cool.
Yeah,
friend.
All his arms.
That was the thing people would do. Like when you were a kid, you'd steal your sister or someone's sister's Teddy Ruxpin and then put like a 2 Live Crew tape in there.
Yeah,
because Teddy Ruxpin doing Me So Horny. Funny to this day. Funny to this day.
Yeah.
And the worm was called Grubby. Yeah. Grubby as he wants to be.
Had a great theme song, though.
Yes,
Teddy Ruxpin.
absolutely. But what a strange mix of shows. So, like, for me, there's a bunch of American shows on here. Like, you have 321 Contact, which was a PBS show, which was like our BBC, which was like a science magazine for kids. But then my favorite, Martian, which is like a 1960s sitcom show. And then something called The Chicken Minute. I have no idea what that is. Like, just bizarre mixture of things.
Me neither.
Very weird. Then you get the bank holiday, so that's Monday. I see Lenny Henry here with his red nose.
Films all day, surely. Bank holiday,
Starman's on like 4 times this week.
Starman. It's a good film, but it was very depressing as a child.
Yeah, boring, depressing. Like, especially if you're like, I love John Carpenter, and then you watch it, and I'm like, ugh.
Yeah. It's just weird. A lot of strange concepts for a kid to sort of grasp in that film.
Yeah.
It's not,
Like,
although it was sold as a kid's sort of film or a family.
it's
film
like someone
in
went,
the middle of the day.
can we make The Thing more like The Big Chill? Like, can we make The Thing about a midlife crisis? Middle-aged people being sad about their relationships.
Yeah, and very sad as well.
No, thank you.
Misery.
Yeah, and then right after it, Mark Almond at the Royal Albert Hall with a symphony. This is Mark Almond of Soft Cell playing with a symphony after Starman.
Is he the guy who drank the glass of stuff?
I think that's probably the classic, but was, depends on what generation you're from. It was him, then it was Rod Stewart, or what, it's always the legend.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Not-
I just wonder if he did it on the show.
I think so, with
there,
the
on
the
stage.
orchestra,
Yeah.
with the symphony orchestra. That's what they mean when they say performing his greatest hits. Then there's a show called Noel's House Party, which was Noel Edmonds, I think, who was like a radio
Yeah,
DJ.
it was big.
Who I've
was a big
seen
show.
clips of it. He looks like someone's 50-year-old dad, but the show tone is kind of like, I'm wacky and wild. This is a youth show.
Well, you know what? He didn't even put that much effort in. He let the set and Mr. Blobby do everything for him. I've had people call me Noel Edmonds. It really annoys
Just
me.
'cause you have a
I wear
beard?
Glasses and a beard. Yeah, that's it. Glasses and a beard. People have even called me Rolf Harris in the
that's
shop. My sweet
extra
shop.
bad.
I said somebody said that, and they were like sort of laughing. We were being friendly, and they said, "You look like Rolf Harris." And I went, "Do you realise what you just said to me?"
Yeah, because people don't know he
realise
was
what
a
you've
child
just called me?
molester.
Yeah, he was a child molester. I said, "You've just called me a child molester," and they just sort of like the smile dropped from their
In a
face.
sweet shop.
I was, yeah. You're calling me a paedophile in a sweet shop.
Yeah.
And the smile dropped from their face. They were having a lovely time. I wasn't.
They
That's
ruined
the
their
problem.
own time, and they deserved that.
They did. They ruined it. You called me a paedophile
Best
in a roundabout way.
best UK sweet.
UK sweet.
Yep.
Well, I would go, although we don't sell it, Galaxy Chocolate is the best sweet in my
Why
opinion.
don't you sell it?
Because we can't compete with the supermarkets
Yeah, that's
when it's
true.
branded
They
things.
mark that down,
Yeah,
yeah.
we go for the stranger things. We do a lot of American stuff. What's the best American candy for you?
We don't have the greatest candy. I'll say that.
No, I don't like any of
No,
your stuff.
the
if I'm
chocolate's
honest.
bad.
Yeah.
Peanut butter cups are okay, but the miniature ones are the best if you're gonna go peanut butter cup. Sour stuff is decent, but not like the weird stuff where it's like it's a liquid. Like I don't want a thick liquid that's sour. That's not candy. So like your classic Sour Patch Kids, like cherries, those are pretty decent. But for the most part, our candy's garbage here. I imagine like peanut butter cups
It is.
probably sell well.
Yeah. I mean, Reese's have kind of made it across there now. They're kind of everywhere. We sell a lot of Hershey's, not so much, but Hershey's smells like vomit.
Well, it's
Does it smell
curdled
like
milk.
Vomit to you?
It's curdled milk. That's that's the process. The guy who invented that milk chocolate, that's his process.
Well, that's why it smells like puke.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
Is it true that it's beeswax so it doesn't melt?
No,
'Cause
no,
it's
that's not true.
No.
No.
Is that not true? I've told so many customers that. I look like an idiot, Ken.
Although there is who invented M&Ms?
Who?
The U.S.
Like-
government.
Oh. Why?
Because they wanted to put chocolate in rations packs for soldiers, but it would melt. So they asked the Mars Corporation to come up with a chocolate that wouldn't melt. So that's where they came up with the candy shell.
What about Smarties?
We don't
Are
have
they
those
after
here.
M&Ms?
Our
Do you not?
we have a candy called Smarties, but it's like chalk. It's like little round pieces of chalk.
You got quite a lot of pieces of chalk
Yeah.
sweets. I sell quite a few of them in the old theatre boxes.
Yeah, there's a lot
A lot
of.
of chalky.
Well, so Boston was the candy capital of America for a long time. We had the most candy companies here until like the 70s. So you could go on tours of like the Necco factory when I was a kid, and like there were parts of the city that just had this like sickly sweet smell. So we still have some of those companies here, like the company that makes like Necco wafers and like Squirrel Nut Zippers and Mary Jane's and those kind of stuff they still make here. But it's all like old people candy that no one wants. Like, do you like licorice and mint flavors? Like
Oh, you know what? You badmouth licorice. We sell more licorice than anything else.
black licorice?
Yeah. Well, we get, I'd say, 50% elderly customers.
Well, yeah. But that's
Yeah,
decent.
and they love their licorice.
You might need a friend someday. Just change your store's logo to that logo.
Yeah.
And you're like, man, business, we got to line out the door all of a sudden.
The thing is, right, they forget that they've been to another sweet shop and they come to my sweet shop and they say, last time the sweets I wanted were up there. I'm like, no, they weren't. You went to a different shop. I know this shop. You're coming in here and you're telling me where things are. I put them there.
Yeah, we don't even
It
sell
drives
this.
me mad. No, that's yeah. And somebody says, and no, but it's just when they just keep going. No, but you do sell it. I bought it here before. No, you haven't.
Yeah.
And they'll keep doing it until eventually one day they'll come back and the wife has said to them, "No, you did buy it from the other place," and then they just won't say anything. They just don't
Do you ever get the like, I want to speak to the owner, and you're like, that's me.
Yeah, I love that.
That's the
I love
best. Yeah.
that. I will walk out the back door and then walk back out again. Hello.
Yeah. You do the let me check.
Can I help you?
I'll just go get it. Yeah. That's the best. That's the only good thing about owning anything is you could do that.
Yeah.
Have you ever had to ban anyone?
No, I've had kids stealing things. I wouldn't remember the faces enough to ban them anyway. All these kids look the same. I've had to chase kids down.
Are you allowed to
like an
slap them
action
around
film.
for stealing like you are here?
No, you're not even allowed to chase them down, but I have.
Yeah.
I mean, as long as I only touch the thing they've stole,
Right.
that's fine. So, I mean, literally, there was a boy that would just take a drink from a fridge and just keep walking. So I would like, wait a second, I'd run out and I would just grab the bottle of drink off him. I can't get in trouble for that.
No.
This was my bottle of drink.
Especially when he trips over your foot accidentally and his teeth get knocked
Yeah,
out.
or
But
at least
they'll
that's
go
what
back.
he told them.
My once a kid was picking on me when I was a kid, and my dad wanted to beat him up, but obviously, that's frowned upon. So what my dad did was he grabbed the kid, put him in a headlock, took a permanent magic marker, and drew a Hitler mustache on him, which was on his face for a good week.
Oh, see, I've got a daughter, and I don't know how I'd deal with that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Bullies and things like that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Kill me inside. I have a friend. You may have seen him on some of the YouTube channels. Theo Kane.
Oh, yeah.
He makes toys.
Yep.
He told me that when he was a child, he's from up north, and his dad was a bit stricter. When he was getting bullied at school, he came home and his dad said, "Right, you better go beat up them bullies, or I'll beat you up." And I thought, my God, that's doubling down
That's an
on
odd-
misery. There,
yeah.
that is a terrible place to be.
That's like the smoke this whole pack of cigarettes till you vomit of getting beat up.
Yeah, that is.
Man.
Horrible. I mean, he's turned out to be well adjusted, so
Yeah, well, as far as you know.
well, yeah, from what I can see. Yeah.
You haven't been in his crawl space. Maybe you have. I don't know. That's a good YouTube video. Yeah, you get Neighbors and all that kind of stuff. Where my Wednesday, if there's anything. I got really into shows like Grand Designs and those sort of stuff when I was there, which oddly I get sort of the same sort of sense of satisfaction out of like that as I do of like watching your videos.
Really?
Which
Grand
is a
Designs.
compliment. But
Oh, yeah.
you're sort of seeing a thing where they're like, we're going to turn this like disused campsite into a home, or whatever. And then the host is always like, I told them they couldn't do it. And then when they don't do it, he's like, I told you. You would not have in a U.S. show.
see, you know, I forget that people actually watch the videos for the builds and the crafting side of things. I'm too busy worried about the editing.
Well, you put a lot into the editing. Like, you put a lot of good, like, comedy bits into the editing, which I appreciate.
You know, I've slowed down a bit of late.
It's a lot of work. I feel you
It
there.
is.
Because you're like,
it's
why
a
am
lot of
I
work.
even putting this effort in?
Yeah, I've done a few where I've not put those skits in and they've done better. I'm thinking maybe they just hate me. I'll just do this.
No, I mean, when I've sort of dipped my toe in video, which has been a huge failure, but like 2 years ago, I did a video every day for Halloween about different like TV stuff. Then I did like a half-hour Thanksgiving special and a special about Halloween and stuff. And the stuff that would get like thousands of views and go really viral would be like some half-assed thing that I didn't even put any effort into. And the thing I spent a week and I'm like, oh, it's really good. Nothing.
Yeah.
Like there's no rhyme or reason to it.
You have a YouTube channel,
I
Ken?
do, yes. Have
Oh,
a
I'll
few
have
things
to
on
look.
there. Check it out. There's some interesting stuff about old TV. There's some good horror movie stuff on there. Speaking of horror movies, though, Wednesday, June 2nd, if you look on page 69, nice, of the PDF, there is a still from a children's show that's been cut off. I can't tell what the show is. It's on at 1:10 p.m., but it's Wayne Somethingman. And it says, and Box, find out rambling can be fun. So I don't know if Box was a reoccurring character on this children's show, but it looks like something you've built.
Well, am I looking at the wrong place? Did you say page 69?
Yeah, 69 of the PDF itself.
Oh, yes, I know that box thing. That is terrifying. That is some body horror thing.
So this was a thing that you were aware of
Yeah.
previously?
Yep. Yes. This was a CITV. Well, I don't know if it was CITV at the time, but it was like 3 o'clock-ish, ready for when you get back from school.
And this was like a box that talked?
Yeah, I think they were postmen or something like that.
It's horrifying. And its
It is?
head is open. It doesn't even have like a top on the box. So it's like this like sentient being with a big hole in its head and like a
I imagine
weird.
It's just like swirling blood and guts just sloshing about. in
Did they
there.
put stuff in it?
I think so, and she'd go, oh. Every time they did it.
I don't know if I believe you or not.
Well, it could be true. I think I saw something of that recently.
I need to look this up because that is horrifying.
You imagine they've just sort of put a woman into the car cubing.
Yeah.
thing, and they did it so many times until they got the face in the right place.
Yeah. They're like, it's horrible. Like, I don't know why you would make that and be like, kids show, got it. Here's what they want.
Looking back, the kids' show the creations were the things that scared you the most as a kid, I think.
Oh,
They were
yes.
things that stuck with you.
And I have to say
Like
the UK ones, way more terrifying than ours.
Yeah. There was a show I watched recently called Punky Brewster. That was a big show in the US.
Oh, yes. Yes.
And do you know which episode I'm going to talk
Perils
about?
of Punky with the Indian ghost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the storyline of it.
Yeah.
He wrote it that same year that came out,
Yeah.
but like 6 months later, I'm pretty sure he ripped that show off.
So
It is very, very similar, and it's terrifying.
on
as
my
well.
YouTube channel, I go through several Punky Brewster episodes, but there's one you'll particularly like where you know the serial killer, the Night Stalker.
Yeah, Richard Ramirez.
That was featured on Punky Brewster.
Was it? Was she just sort of nervous about?
She was scared about the Night
Stalker?
Stalker, and it's like on the news, and then like it doesn't get resolved, and the lesson of the episode is her. So the premise of that show is this girl was abandoned in a shopping mall by her mother, is homeless squatting in this apartment building in Chicago, and the superintendent, this confirmed bachelor superintendent, just adopts her, and that's
Or just
it. That's
does he sign anything?
Nope,
or-
not officially. You know, that's the premise of the show. So it got real weird. There's that episode. There's an episode where one of the kids almost dies because she gets trapped in a refrigerator. I have another video how there's a character named Alan on the show who you've seen in the Perils of Punky one. He's the one whose face has the green mouth and it's jiggling.
Yeah, horrible.
Biggest dickhead ever written on television. Like there's an episode where he says the meanest thing I've ever heard on TV, where they have a janitor who's a savant. She plays the violin, but she's mentally challenged, and he's making fun of her, and they're listening to classical music, and she starts like miming with her like feather duster, and he goes, "What are you gonna do next? Play a mop solo?" And she starts like crying, right? And then they go, "Alan, you're gonna hurt her feelings." And he goes, "She doesn't have any feelings. She's and then says the R word you don't say anymore. And they're like, "Oh my God." And so I did this video about how he's an asshole. And the kid who was the actor emailed me and he's like, "This is great."
I gotta watch that.
It's Punky Brewster is some messed up stuff, but I don't think it was as scary as like, is it Rainbow with the zipper mouth guy who's basically David Cronenberg's character in Nightbreed?
No, that Perils of Punky Brewster has haunted me my whole life. I watched that, I was very young, and you know, you have these memories of shows you've watched and you don't know what they are, and you've got no way of finding it out, and I just so happened to manage to, I don't know how. It was only recently. It's haunted me for 35 years.
It is like
I've managed to solve all of these scary images from TV up to now. I think that was the last one I had to figure out.
Oh, nice.
And I found it just the other day. Yeah.
Were there any other American ones, or were they mostly UK ones?
Mostly UK. There was one that was like a children's theatre thing where kids would write and direct shows. And it was about a blob underneath a bed. I think a girl would chuck all of her food and all of her rubbish under a bed instead of getting rid of it. And then eventually it turned into like this big blob monster. That was stuck in my head for a long time. Jesus. And the only reason I found that is because I don't know if you know of the YouTuber Ashens. You ever heard of
No.
Stuart
It sounds
Ashton?
like I would like it though.
Yeah, he showed it on his stream, and I thought, oh my God, everything's clicking into place. That's such a great feeling. You're not sure if you've imagined these things,
it is,
or if you actually saw them for real.
Yeah, it is and it isn't. Like it's weird because like a lot of times I'll be like, oh, I know what it is now, and yeah, that was the thing before, like YouTube and stuff. You would say you saw these things, and kids would be like, "You're a liar. That's not real." And then so seeing it again, I've found is weirdly not cathartic, because oftentimes I'll rewatch them and be like, this is even more terrifying than I remembered.
Yeah. Well, they are still scary.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
It's bizarre. Yeah.
But are you not relieved that, well, I wasn't that much of a wuss then? Because if it scares 40-year-old me, then
I guess
I was right to be scared.
That is a glass half full way of looking at it, I suppose.
Yeah.
I should look at, because I do another video on my channel about there was a public service announcement about AIDS, and it's the most horrifying. I saw this ad once and I was completely terrified, and rewatching it, I was terrified and also felt really bad because it's also incredibly offensive and like really dehumanizing to people with AIDS. But it's you should give it a watch and then let me know what you think. But yeah, that one I was like, oh, this is even worse than I thought. Thursday's the best night here. I watched the whole week. Like you got Ruby Wax's show, The Full Wax, which I love Ruby Wax.
Yeah, is she known in America, Ruby Wax?
Not
or is she
at all.
Just known over here because she's American?
Yes, has zero presence here at all. She had a short-lived talk show in the late 90s on VH1 here after she was already a big star in the UK. And she would do like specials where she interviews celebrities. Like that was her thing, right?
She was married to Ed Byer, wasn't she?
Yes,
I
he's
don't know if she
the
still is.
producer of the show. And she was a stand-up. In this show, she's interviewing Jennifer Saunders and Joanna Lumley, which is at the height of Absolutely Fabulous. So they're like massive stars. And Lauren Bacall in this episode.
Ed Byer also produced my favourite show as a child, Red Dwarf.
I love Red Dwarf.
You do? Well, yeah, but you're only allowed to like the American pilot.
Only the American
You're not allowed
pilot.
to like the English.
Yes, Cat and Crichton are the only people that they have on it from the UK one.
Well, no, the Cat isn't in it, is he? Or they did 2 pilots in America. I know that.
The one I saw,
It's got Craig Burko as
Yes.
Lister. I know
Craig
that.
Burko's great as a general rule, but not great as Lister.
No, Lister's not supposed to be dashing or handsome.
Well, I think the thing that they always lose in US remakes of UK shows that don't work is class is not a thing here. Like the the comedy inherent in culture clash of literally like class levels of like posh people.
Yeah.
Like it just doesn't translate here for whatever reason. And so that's like the key of like the Lister and Rimmer relationship is that.
I'd say that's the key of a lot of our comedy, I think, in
Yeah.
the 80s and 90s. Yeah, the class thing.
It doesn't work. Like the only reason The Office works is because it's inherently someone who is explicitly the boss. So people get it, but like it just doesn't translate on other stuff. It's really strange. Like it just, yeah.
Strange.
But like they made 3 different versions of Faulty Towers here, which I talked to John Cleese a whole day about it. And one of them, the US executives actually went, you know what would improve this show? If we got rid of this Basil Fawlty character. And they made a show that was a remake of Fawlty Towers without that character. And it was just about the hotel.
I did see one of the American versions with the bad guy from Richie Rich.
Oh, John
whatever his
Larroquette?
name is.
Yes.
Was that one of the?
Yep.
Yeah, and the hotel was very fancy.
Yeah, that one was called
Fancy hotel,
Pain,
wasn't
I think. Yeah, and they did one also with B. Arthur from Golden Girls as the Basil Fawlty character, which actually was pretty decent, but it's just not like, why even remake the show? Just like make your own show that's like that.
Well, there was only like 6 episodes, wasn't there?
Yeah.
Fawlty Towers, 6 or 7.
Huge failure.
They just recycle.
Yeah, the weirdest one is there is a US remake of Coupling, and Coupling, which the UK version was very good, was just a Friends ripoff. So they did a US version of this UK Friends ripoff, and it is one of the worst things I've ever seen in my life.
See, I thought Coupling was one of the worst things I've ever seen.
It's
I
better
did
than
not
Friends.
Like that show.
I hated Friends. So.
Is it?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's more. It's
I
better
liked
written.
Friends.
It's better written in my view, but it's very of its time.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose I was in sort of sick form at that point, like 16 years old. I suppose Friends was
The US,
you had to like Friends.
the US version of Men Behaving Badly. Oh boy.
I was a big fan of the. I'm not sure if you're allowed to like the British version now because it was very sexist. But that is
that was the
point.
joke.
That is
though.
what.
Yeah, like you're supposed to
that
laugh
is-
at them.
yeah.
It's
Yeah,
yeah,
that's right.
It's
It's still well written. It's still
Oh,
a great
yeah.
show. I watched it recently.
US version. Nope. The US pilot of The Young Ones. Oh boy. My God. And actually, I had Henry Normal on, and we talked about the Royal Family is one of my favorite shows of all time. I think it's absolutely just a genius show, and it's so good. They did a U.S. remake set in Boston, set in Charlestown, and it was called The Kennedys. And it is awful. Randy Quaid is the father. And he's like, I've never seen it. I really want to, but I kind of don't want to. But it's apparently just the worst.
See, my favourite comedy show of recent years is Peep Show.
Yes.
They've never done a version of that. Have they done a version of that?
2
in the
pilots
US?
here. One with Joel McHale, who was also in the pilot of the IT Crowd American version. And they did a Peep Show about 10 years ago here. It didn't work. And then they tried to do another version here fairly recently. And they switched the leads to 2 females. It doesn't work. It's
No.
even Peep Show. I loved Peep Show. And then it went too far, like in the couple mid-series, like when they ate the dog. And I was like, this, I can't.
Wait, you've never eaten a dog, Ken?
Not accidentally. Yes. But that is a show I often quote. I often ask people if they're doing normal pooing.
Yeah, that's not normal pooing
Yes.
you're doing, man.
My favorite joke on Peep Show is when he's leaving a phone message and he signs it because he's leaving a message and then he goes, Mark. And then he hangs up. I'm like, it's such a funny idea. Oh, it's great. Yeah. Peep Show's great. There's also a thing on ITV1 BBC One called Attitude, Alcohol, and Adultery. Again, sounds exciting, but then it's a documentary about the decadent lifestyle of the British aristocracy in Kenya between the wars.
This was the birth of clickbait, wasn't
Yeah.
it? BBC back in the day.
I'm like, that is such
him in
a
with the title.
deceptive. There's also the Comic Strip Presents their parody of The Crying Game, which is not the best one.
I like comic strip presents.
I love it.
I have a few sort of memories of being scared of comic strip presents. There were a few episodes of that were quite scary.
The one with the turkey,
Yeah.
that one's really terrifying. The one with
There's
Kate
the one where
Bush.
the guy turned into a punk.
Yes.
That
Yes.
one stuck out to me.
I love the one with Peter Cook where he's the serial killer that lives next door
I
to
don't
them.
think I've
Oh,
seen that
it's
one.
great. It's called like Mr. not Mr. Blobby, but like Mr. Jolly or something. Like Mr. Jolly has a job, and Peter Cook is this
Oh, I've
like
heard of that
it's
one,
really
yeah.
good. Yeah, and then the one with Kate Bush is really great. That's what terrified me? The Kate Bush video for the song Experiment 4. Which I don't know if you've ever seen
think
it.
I've seen it.
It stars all the people from the comic strip. And I don't know if you know the song at all, but it's about a military experiment to make a sound that kills people. So the chorus is like, they told me what they wanted was a sound that would kill someone. And so the video is like all the comic strip people playing these military people testing these sounds on people like tied up, like dying. It's so fucked up and terrifying.
It sounds great.
It's a great video, but it's really terrifying. Yeah, I was like, and it's all comedians in it, which made it like more disturbing because I was like, what are they doing to me? Why have they done
I
this?
see. A big show in the UK is EastEnders, and it's still going now. Do you know of EastEnders
hated
in
it.
the US?
Hated it. It didn't air here.
You hated it? No. Well, I have an American friend who pays. Was it BBC America or something?
You can
just to
get it
watch
here now,
EastEnders.
but it did.
Yeah.
They aired some of the Australian soaps that were big in the UK, like Home and Away and Neighbours, aired here for a bit, but not EastEnders and not Coronation Street. Like none of those created over here.
I see, like Birds of a Feather was down the road. Technically, EastEnders was between my local train station and the next station. It was a made-up station between those two. I'm thinking, where? I can see the next station.
It's your
Where is
Cheers.
this place?
Where is this?
Yeah.
Actually, in the other room, I have a teapot of the pub from EastEnders.
Why?
I think I bought it as my.
Is it your
I think I
wife's?
bought it for my wife as a joke one Christmas. It was good. Yeah, man. Oh, Crystal Maze with Richard O'Brien. That's a show that terrified me when I saw it as an adult. That did not make it over here.
Why'd that terrify you?
Well, because Richard O'Brien's kind of creepy. Just
I think he's great.
he's great, but he's kind of creepy.
He is.
He's
yeah.
so good in
He
Dark
kinda
City.
plays on
Have you
that.
seen Dark City?
He is,
Oh my
yeah,
god,
great in Dark City.
So good in that.
That's his best role.
Yeah.
He must be proud of that.
He's so good in that.
Yeah.
But so for people who don't know, this was like a kid show, like Double Dare, sort of, that was hosted by Richard O'Brien, like kind of being intentionally creepy. Or I don't know if he could do anything else.
Yeah. I see. I remembered when I was a kid, and I'd see someone from like Crystal Maze, like I was, and they would have a tiny role in Flash Gordon. I'd be amazed. That would be amazing to me.
Yeah.
But it's not really a massive deal, is it? I mean, they got a TV show, they got their own TV show
Well,
to
also,
play this tiny part.
They only
in a
shot
film.
so many like movies in the UK that were like, so like there's a bunch of movies that it's like if you're an actor in the UK, you're probably in a Superman movie.
Yeah.
You're probably going to be in Flash Gordon,
When I was at this point, I didn't know he'd written bloody Rocky Horror Picture Show either,
Yeah.
which is his biggest claim to fame, isn't it?
or
I
Shock
suppose.
Treatment.
Yeah, I've never watched that.
It's
I had
good.
the DVD double set. Is it good?
I prefer, so I'm not a huge Rocky Horror fan. I always contend that Brian De Palma's Phantom of the Paradise is the movie that should have the reputation Rocky Horror has.
I have that ready to watch.
Love that movie. But Shock Treatment I actually like. And Shock Treatment is sort of a condemnation of reality TV and game shows in a way that's like decades ahead of its time and is also not as fun as Rocky Horror and like more of a downer. But it stars Jessica Harper of Suspiria in the Susan Sarandon role.
See, I wasn't a fan of Rocky Horror. I'm still not a fan.
Yeah.
I'll sing the songs. Well, Time Warp is the only catchy song from the
Yeah.
entire thing, I think, to be honest. Yeah. There's much better musicals out there. But people love that film.
Oh yeah, it was a big like theater kid thing here. They'd go to the midnight shows and dress up, and you couldn't see it anywhere except at a midnight show until I was about maybe 13 or 14. They made a big deal out of it coming out on VHS, like you could watch it at home for the first time. And I'm like, I love horror movies. It says horror, and I was like, what the fuck is this bullshit? Like I was so like, what is this? I hate this.
The only horror is when Meatloaf gets killed, I suppose.
God,
I can't
yeah.
really think of anything
Yeah,
else.
and I love Tim Curry. Like, again, Tim Curry as Pennywise had never been topped.
I watched that yesterday.
You cannot beat him in that role,
No.
or him as Darkness.
Yeah.
God,
That is one of the films that did terrify me
Yeah.
as a kid. I think it terrified everybody.
It's
didn't it?
supposed to.
Yeah, it did what it said, and it's still scary now.
Yeah.
I think it's the reach he has. I mean, it's like in The Exorcist. One of the scariest moments in that is when he hears "spare a quarter, like help out an
Yeah.
older boy, a fire there." It's because you know that the devil is everywhere.
Yeah.
and he knows everything. That's what it's like in it.
Yeah.
You can't really put your finger on this stuff as a kid, but as you get older and you watch the stuff again, you realise why it was so
You
scary.
can't escape. There's no reprieve. And Stephen King stuff, especially here growing up, because the stuff's all set in New England, and like you'd go to Maine and you'd see the towns and they'd mention local things here, which made it even
Yeah.
more terrifying because I'm like, I know where that is. Like,
Yeah. Well, or he could have watched Punky Brewster about 6 months before.
yeah, and just read
Off
it.
his head on cocaine and
Yeah.
thought, hey, this is a great idea
You'd
I've
say,
just had.
you know what would improve this? An underage gangbang.
Yeah.
The worst part of it, which
Yeah, what was the equivalent of the film? I was watching it the other day, and the equivalent of them having the game. I was thinking this is the bit when they should have been
Yeah.
fucking each other, but instead the inhaler.
Yes.
They did the inhaler
Which is-
instead.
major improvement.
It is, yeah.
There are a few Stephen King things that the film adaptation improves, like Cronenberg's Dead Zone, much better than the book, improves on, doesn't make it a brain tumor, and also has the structure where you don't need to see Greg Stilson every other chapter. Like, just have him come in at the end, perfect, makes the book much better. And then, yeah, the TV version of it improves on a lot of that stuff that you just don't need.
If they needed to feel connected, couldn't the boys all have fucked each other as well? Why did they all?
But that's not hot. I don't know why you'd
that's
write
right.
it. Like,
Yeah.
there's no justification for that included in it. And even Stephen King to this day will be like, I don't know what the fuck I was thinking of that thing there. So, but
Yeah, he was on something.
Yeah.
He definitely ripped off Punky Brewster.
Yeah.
I stick by it.
yeah, I'm going to drive up to Bangor today and accuse him. King, I waited on him once when I worked at a steakhouse.
Was he nice?
Very nice. He had a filet mignon
good, I'm
and a grape nut custard, and he tipped me well.
Good.
Yeah, I see Round the Twist is on here. Brian May.
He-Man. Well, it's the New Adventures of He-Man on the Children's Channel.
That was bad.
Yeah.
They redesigned Skeletor. It just looked like
They
garbage. Yeah, that was.
I got into a relationship with somebody, and she knew I collected He-Man toys, and she got me one. I got you one in the blister pack, and it was from the New Adventures of He-Man. I'm like, oh, thanks.
You tried. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
anime He-Man. That's. There is one last thing I
Yeah.
wanted to mention here because I don't think it's still on, but on BBC Two on Friday night, 7:45. What the Papers Say. And this was on when I lived there. It would literally just be like a news presenter with all the newspapers, like going, oh, and this newspaper says this. Here's the headline from this newspaper. I was like, oh, this is on TV.
It's just like your dad in the morning.
I was like, why is this on television? It's literally just a guy going, oh, you see this in the paper? Look at that.
Is there like minutes of him like, oh, where did I put it?
Yeah.
Is there a lot of that?
Yeah.
Oh, just
Literally, like it's insane. Like I was 2000, I saw that on TV, and I'm like, it's the new millennium, and there's a man on television on the BBC just showing you newspapers.
Well, they do it now, but it's just somebody on their Google page
Yeah.
just looking at the
They'd
stories.
literally be like,
is
look at
one
this.
there?
Tomorrow's paper says this here and this one. I'm like, what?
We're going to check the weather now, and he just slides left.
Right. Yeah, there you go. I'm like, yeah, we could do this. I can get a paper. I know how to get a paper. You don't have special access to a paper. There's nothing.
Well, you know what? Not everybody had 25 pence.
That's
For
true.
a paper.
That's true.
Especially not if you're going to buy them all.
Well,
There you go. I was spending about £3 a day on that.
and
show.
they'd never go to page 2. I tell you that. I think everyone
yeah.
watched that, so we'd be like, "Oh, tomorrow we got a."
Thinking about that was terrible. Was it page 3? You
Page
just
3.
need to have a pair of tits. As soon as you open this newspaper, there needs to be some tits there.
That fascinated me. I
It's strange. It's
I would go out of my way when I lived in the UK. There was a like a little news agent near the college, and just I'm not even like a big hey I want to look at titties guy, but I'd be like I'm gonna go buy a Lion bar and a newspaper that just has random tits on the 3rd page because I cannot believe this is a thing.
Do you remember anything on the 2nd page?
No.
Let alone the 3rd.
No, because those would be really shitty newspapers too. Like generally they'd be like tabloidy.
Well, the Sun,
Yeah.
yeah, or Daily
It would just be
Sport.
like Jordan is at the beach. or like, something about Abu Hamza.
I would literally go straight to the TV pages
Yeah.
as a child.
Yeah.
I mean, after page 3.
Well, yeah.
But yeah.
That was the TV page. Yeah, very strange. Although I will say, I enjoy Samantha Fox's albums. Have a couple autographed LPs.
Do you really?
Yeah.
She had albums, plural.
Oh, yeah, she had
There
4
was more than
records.
one.
Yeah. They're pretty decent. Had a great song in Nightmare on Elm Street Part 5.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that Dream Child?
Yeah, the Dream
Or
Child.
is that-
Yeah. Not my favorite. Part 4 is my favorite.
Part 3 is mine.
Well, Part 3 is pretty decent.
That's everyone's favourite, isn't it?
Yeah. The Welcome to Primetime Bitch is big for people. But 4, something about 4. The Screaming Mad George Cockroach.
Yeah, but that's a continuation. That is very much a continuation from 3, isn't
Yes.
it? 4?
Yeah, absolutely. But
Count it as 1. We like the same film.
weird Rennie Harlan stuff. I think Nightmare on Elm Street Part 4 might be the movie I've had the most cast members of on this show. I think I've had like 4
Really?
people from that movie on here.
Who have you had?
I've had Toy Newkirk. I've had Lisa Wilcox. I've had someone else. Who's the other person? I can't even remember now. Wow, it's been a lot of people. There's been like 1,000 people on. Brooke Thies. I can't think.
Oh, no, I'm just impressed.
Oh, hey, I live in America. They're around. I've had a lot of horror movie people on. From
You know, I've looked at the list of guests you've had, and I'm very surprised that you asked me.
really,
Yeah.
it's just people who I like
am.
what they do and stuff that I think is
No,
interesting.
well, I'm flattered. I'm honoured, Ken.
You're
Thanks.
doing good stuff. I recommend the channel. I enjoyed very much.
Hey, and I know my films and shit.
You do?
That's
Yeah.
clear. If anything's come across, it's that I know my film.
Well, I think also I can recognize one of us, and I go, "This guy is one of us." I'm like, we'd have a good chat, and we did.
Yeah, we did.
Well, thank you for doing this.
Thank you. Is this the end? That was a good way to bring it to a close there.
That's Dan. Like I said, awesome dude. Follow his YouTube channel. You would not be disappointed. It's highly entertaining. Just a cool guy. And I always like these UK editions. Let me know if you do. Mixing it up a little bit. You can email me, as I said before, in the email, or drop me a message on the Patreon or on my YouTube channel, which I'll put a link to here as well, which people... I'm going to think they forget I have it. I'll just say they forget or they don't know, rather than they're just like, I'm not interested in that. But I'll try to put more stuff on there if you'd like to see more videos on the YouTube channel. Anyway, I'll be here next week, so I hope you will too, for a brand new edition of TV Guidance Counselor.
No, I don't really want to see Harvey Keitel's schlong.